G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my trashy Tuesday movie reviews. So, if you're new to my channel, thank you for tuning in, stopping by and checking it out. To give you an idea of what I do, every Tuesday I look at the trashiest films that I can find. They can be good, they can be bad, but let's face it, aren't trashy films just good fun? And you don't get much more fun than this one here, The Toxic Avenger, Part 2. Now, the other week I did The Toxic Avenger and it brought back a lot of memories. And I felt like, yep, time to dive into the toxic waste heap that is Tromaville and look at Part 2, possibly Part 3 and 4 as well. Who knows, we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. And by the way, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Just hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that way you're notified every time I do release a new video. And if you could, hit that thumbs up, be much appreciated. But like I said, thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. It truly means the world to me, so thank you. Anyway, back to the movie. So Toxic Avenger Part 2 came out in 1989. 5 years after the original film hit the screens with a massive splash of green goo and blood. Again, directed by michaeljaiwhite and lloydkaufman. The film actually changes its direction and tone in this one. We have Ron Fazio, John Altamura. Now, there is a bit of a story behind that. Won't get into it, but look it up. It's actually quite interesting. Phoebe Legree, Rick Collins, Rikiya Masayoka, hopefully I'm pronouncing these names right, but a keen eye will spot a young future superhero, Michaeljaiwhite. Yeah, that's right. One thing I have noticed about some of these films is you do see a lot of future actors, like future stars, in these earlier roles, and it's fascinating to see because looking at where they've come from, they haven't just hit the big time. They've been in lower budget films before they've made their mark in other movies. The Toxic Avenger had Marissa Tomei in it. And she went on to win an Oscar for My Cousin Vinny. She's been in the Spider-Man films. Michaeljaiwhite, or michaeljaiwhite, I think it is. I can't remember. But anyway, he was Spawn. He's been in tons of action films. He's a fantastic martial artist. Anyway, let's get into this. So the plot, the Toxic Avenger is tricked into traveling to Tokyo to search for his estranged father, leaving Tromaville open to complete domination by an evil corporation. Now, that is direct from IMDb, and that is pretty much accurate for once. So yeah, good on IMDb for getting it right. Now, there will be spoilers ahead, so to give you guys a quick take of what the film what happens in the film, it's a follow-up from the absolute classic of that is 1984's The Toxic Avenger. This film takes a slight detour though from what was a rather ludicrous and absurd fun film to a completely ludicrous and utterly batshit insane film. It's not a bad thing though. I did feel though that this was a bit too far away from the feel that was set in the original film. So it is, it's a very different style of film. Doesn't mean it's not enjoyable though. Okay, so first up, let's have a look at the cast of this one. So the cast led by Ron Fazio, Phoebe Legree, again, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, and our supporting cast members, Rick Collins and Rikiya Masayoka. Again, hopefully I'm pronouncing these right. Deliver a delightfully outlandish and very entertaining experience. In fact, Rick Collins gave a very Tim Curry-esque performance. Yeah, I can't describe it any better than that. But overall, the cast of The Toxic Avenger Part 2 shines in bringing this bizarre world to life. Okay, so onto the directing and the writing. So Toxie heads to Japan, and of course, all your stereotypes are there. All of them. But again, that's part of the charm of the Troma films and the Toxic Avenger in particular. In terms of directing, michaeljaiwhite and lloydkaufman bring their signature style to the film. They are known for their work in independent cinema and have a knack of blending horror, comedy, and over-the-top action. The Toxic Avenger Part 2 maintains their unique aesthetic and features exaggerated violence, outrageous characters, and a healthy dose of dark, black humour. And a lot of slapstick humour as well, so they do incorporate that into it. As for the writing, one thing I noticed is how meta this film actually is. Self-referencing the original movie about Toxie's origins, and nods and looks at the camera, all breaking the fourth wall. This is something we really didn't see, as far as I'm aware, back in 1989. So seeing this now, we do see it a lot more in films and TV shows, Deadpool, She-Hulk, things like that, where they're breaking that fourth wall kind of thing. So it's really interesting to see this happening back in 1989, where I wasn't particularly aware of it, to be honest. The screenplay is deliberately campy and over the top. In some parts, it's almost a musical. And it really does embrace its B-movie roots. The movie is filled with absurdities and outrageous scenarios, which makes it even more entertaining for fans of cult cinema. Again, the basis of these films is its satirical commentary on environmental issues and societal norms. And while it may seem like it's a straightforward, almost exploitation film on the surface, the Toxic Avenger Part 2 cleverly incorporates themes of pollution and corporate greed into the mix of a completely non-PC, raucous and somewhat slapstick humour, making it stand out above everything else. So look, overall, Toxic Avenger Part 2 is a prime example of unique and unapologetic style of its directors and writers. It's a film that revels in its low-budget origins and delivers a fun experience for fans of cult cinema. And while it may not be as memorable as its predecessor, it certainly does leave a mark. And speaking of leaving a mark, let's have a look at the effects. So, low budget does not mean terrible. As fans, we know that. What it does mean is a lot of fun though. And look, while the effects are not as dark or as gruesome compared to the original, the film has its share of blood and guts to keep, any gorehound entertained. The opening scene has limbs being ripped off, heads pummeled, geysers of blood exploding from holes left by Toxie's devastating punches. And not to mention that iconic fish scene. You've also got a guy who's chopping away, he's cutting away, and if I can find it, I'll pop it up on the screen, but he's chopping away at fish. And then he looks down and it's actually some guy who's been thrown onto his chopping board. That was actually quite funny. But yeah, definitely a lot of blood, a lot of guts, really, really good effects in this one. So now on to rewatchability. So the original cut of this film was 4 hours long. So you can imagine the stuff that they left out. And a lot of it you won't have to because they did use it in part 3. So would I rewatch this film? Well, I have rewatched it previously. I've watched it a few times in the past. And like I said, watching these films is very nostalgic for me. I'm enjoying going back and seeing these ones that I watched years and years ago on VHS multiple times. So would I rewatch it? Yes. However, this film doesn't have the same sway over me as the original Toxic Avenger film. That is certainly a good film. And I think rewatching this with part 3 back to back, that would make a great night in. Some popcorn, some drinks. That'd be a lot of fun. So final verdict. Toxic Avenger Part 2 continues the journey of Melvin Junko, our Toxic Avenger, on his crusade to keep Tromaville clean and crime-free. But it lacks the punch of the original. Adding in, and this was even strange for a Troma film, dance sequences and self-referencing meta jokes, and some extended scenes that dragged on a little bit too long, which really did take me out of the film. But it was quick to pull me back in. Now, this is definitely not for everyone, but if you like juvenile humour, a lashing of blood, guts and toxic waste, you're definitely sure to get a kick out of this. Overall, I would give Toxic Avenger Part 2 a 7 out of 10. So there you have it. That is my review of the Toxic Avenger Part 2. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought of this film down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, it helps that whole YouTube algorithm thing. And if you could subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I do release a new video. As you know, I have my Trashy Tuesdays. So every Tuesday, a new Trashy film. I probably will be looking at Toxic Avenger Part 3 and 4. So keep an eye out for those. I've also got my Franchise Fridays and my 60-second reviews. So also hit them up. They're a lot of fun as well. So anyway, before I dribble on too much, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.